Psychiatry for a Mad World. An extract from the book. The reader will be pleased to know that the most challenging parts of Hugh's therapy have now been looked at. All the moral issues where Hugh needed to take more responsibility for his world. Hugh's psychopathy impacting on relationships, war, poverty, the environment, and animal rights. We have looked at a lot of big problems so far, and in each case we have seen that the underlying cause is mental illness in the population at large, primarily genetic psychopathy. We need to cure the mental illness of the world, the GCD. But how? If the problem is largely genetic, what causes the genetic problem? Can we look deeper and find a cure? Think of a life form as a coin. If you drop a coin onto a road, it will quite likely not land on heads or tails, but land on its edge. Does this sound unlikely? Try it on a steep slope and you will find it tumbles randomly, then often chooses to lift itself up onto its edge and roll down the slope. It is driven to do something highly improbable, land on its edge, by the fact that the road is falling away. Life does the same thing. The falling away is provided by the expansion of the universe, and matter in the universe will expand to occupy the increase in space, moved by the four forces of the universe: gravity, electromagnetic, and two nuclear forces. Just as a coin landing on its edge seems improbable but becomes quite probable, so the creation of life seems highly unlikely but happens nonetheless. The coin rolls because rolling is a motion which is self-repeating, enabling the coin to move more rapidly down the slope than it would if it tumbled randomly. At the dawn of evolution, particles were moving randomly and inefficiently, just as the coin initially tumbles. Eventually, some molecules found a way they could upright themselves and create a mechanism which would take the molecules faster to their destination, rolling down the slope of the expanding universe, driven by the four forces. And just as the coin rolls in a self-perpetuating fashion, those early life molecules, sometimes called replicators, repeated their own actions, creating copies of themselves, copies which would take the molecules faster down the universe's slope. Those very early replicator molecules are thought to be the origins of DNA. If you were to go back in time, where all the coins of matter in the universe were rolled backward and up the universe's slope, they would come together in one explosive point, which has come to be called the Big Bang. We can use this model of existence from the Big Bang to the present day to understand many aspects of human behaviour in the here and now. For example, how did the Big Bang lead to something so apparently unconnected as a person's tattoo? I saw once on the cover of a music magazine a picture of a British rock band where the male members were showing off their skin emblazoned with artistic tattoos. The caption to the picture was a quote from one of the men. Quote, "You ain't a dude till you're tattooed." End quote. What he meant by that was that he, because he had tattoos, was in some sense greater than people who lacked them. It makes us think immediately of the ladder of social esteem. He wanted people to look up to him in admiration. In reality, of course, it takes very little skill, courage, talent, or any other worthy quality to obtain a tattoo. You pay some money, sit still for a while, and it's done. The tattooed rock musician wasn't high up on the ladder of reality, so he decided to manipulate people on the illusory ladder of social esteem. And in the process of sending himself up the ladder, he was sending someone else down. A benefit for him and a cost for someone else. So his statement revealed the psychopathic nature of his tattoo. He got the tattoo in order to look sexy, in order that he could pass on his genes. This allowed his upright genetic coin to roll more quickly down the slope of the universe, running rapidly away from the push of the Big Bang. We now have a very rough idea of the problem with humanity. We have seen the suffering in the world, and we found psychological causes for that. We saw that very often the psychological factors were caused by genetic psychopathy, powered by our selfish desire to pass on our genes. Now we have looked at how the forces of nature can power evolution, and the forces of nature, in turn, are motivated to work by an expanding universe. follow that expansion back in time far enough and you come to the creation of the universe at the Big Bang. So now we have a train of cause and effect from the Big Bang through to suffering in the world. We have mapped out the problem. Can we now find a position in the train of causation where we can have an influence to reduce suffering? One position in the train of events is at the genetic level. It is not inconceivable that we could locate in our DNA the gene or genes which are responsible for our selfishness, our psychopathy. And we have the technology to modify such genes, creating new humans who would not have our psychopathic disposition. But it would mean genetic engineering on a global scale. Every human trying to have a child would need their sperm or eggs genetically modified to remove the psychopathy. It is theoretically possible, but highly unlikely to happen. I imagine there would be an enormous backlash against the idea of human genetic engineering. The psychopathic gene would fight viciously for its right to survive. That is, after all, what it is there for. In fact, removing the psychopathic gene could be dangerous. We need it for our survival, as destructive as it is. Removing it could leave us open to being consumed by the other life forms on our planet. So genetic engineering is not an option, but following the train of causality backwards, can we reveal another possible cure? Unlikely. Genetic psychopathy is created by the four forces of nature and the expanding universe. To stop genetic psychopathy at this level would mean asking gravity to stop working or to stop the universe from expanding. It is essential to understand the complete cause of the problem of the GCD, but at the level of cosmology, the understanding doesn't help to solve it. We have now made a good assessment of the mental health of Homo sapiens. We know what the problem is, we know the causes, and we know at what level we need to create the solution. We need to tackle the problem at the psychological level. Homo sapiens is mentally ill, so we need to provide therapy to all of humanity. Global psychotherapy. The rest of this book will look at how we can bring therapy to the entire planet,